Welcome to the Lighter Side of the Spectrum, a podcast where we explore how to find joy, connection, and growth while navigating the challenges of parenting kids and teens on the autism spectrum. Remember that inclusion and hope are key to making life better for everyone, and that even in the most challenging moments, there's always a lighter side. Now here's your host, David Kaufer.
Hello, everyone. Howdy. Welcome to the lighter side of the spectrum. I'm David Kaufer, and this is my son, Stone. Stone is the inspiration for this podcast. He's the inspiration for so many things in our life. This is the chance where we get to tell a lot of our story, at least the background, some of our journey, because we're going to be using this podcast to talk a lot about autism, the journey and how it relates to parents. We want to give people hope. We want to talk about, obviously, the lighter side, but this is really the chance to talk about how it started and where we're at today for the people to have kind of that foundation of who we are and what this is all about. So let me tell you briefly, because it's a long story, but it's a great story about our journey. And so Stone was diagnosed on the spectrum almost before his third birthday. For most of his life, he's been non-speaking. He has minimal speech. We call it unreliable speech because, as we later learn, and Stone can talk about himself, sometimes the words that he uses aren't what he necessarily intends. So for most of his education, he was in intensive ed in the public school system. We learned about the spelling methodology about 2.5 years ago. The summer of 2022, a friend of mine called me and told me about it, suggested I look into it. And long story short, we did. And Stone will actually be sharing his perspective on this shortly. But September of 2022, we began the methodology, and our whole world changed once we were able to unlock Stone's brain, give him the opportunity to showcase what all was in there, which is so much more than we ever dreamt or imagined. And off we went onto our journey. And I'll talk a little bit later about where we are today, but fast forward to, there's so much to say. He's now in private school. And like I said, I'll get into that a little bit later, but we want to use this podcast to introduce Stone. We're going to have him showcase spelling, because a lot of people are curious, what is it? What is this typing and spelling I hear about? We have some questions that he can answer. And then we're also going to showcase, there's some questions we already asked before, and he had a chance to show some of his writing skills and his abilities there. So that's a long intro. But part of that, I just think it's important, like I said, to have as a baseline. So I also want to introduce my producer, David Yaz, producer and friend.
Hello, David. Good to be back. Great to be back on the show, even though we all know that there's one star on this particular episode, and that's Stone, and I can't wait. This is going to be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks, David. And David, like I said, he's my producer. He's also a friend. He's also part of the club. He's a father of an autistic son who's recently turned 26, and we've really bonded over that, as most dads have.
Hear.
Yeah. So what we're going to do is, like I said, kind of go back and forth between me talking and also sharing and giving Stone an opportunity to use his voice. So I've talked a little bit about his background and journey. So what I thought we would do is, David, why don't you talk a little bit about Stone's journey from what he's been able to share?
Sure. So these are in Stone's words. Here we go. Like most people, my family didn't know just how smart I am. Yes, they thought I was cognitively disabled. This bothered me every day because I had no way to show them that I am very smart. Probably the hardest part was seeing how much attention my brother got for being smart. They always talked about how Ty is so crazy smart, and I hated it. Possibly the hardest thing was seeing the education he was getting compared to me. And it made me mad that I wasn't learning a thing in school. Really, I wasn't learning a thing. I had no way to let anyone know I could understand everything. This was distressing to me. I will always remember my first time spelling. I was in San Diego. My teacher's name was DM. Going in, I didn't know what to expect. Yes, I was excited, but nervous. My dad was with me, and he instigated the meeting. He was for trying it out. My first lesson was about Benjamin Franklin. Yes, I was finally learning something. Before, I was bored in school, but this was interesting. How this changed everything for me. Now I could show how I understood everything. Great God, my whole perspective on life changed. There you go.
That really kind of
great.
says it all. Yeah, I mean,
Really
like I said, it's life-changing. It was life-changing for Stone, obviously, in so many ways, but for us as well. So again, talking about kind of his current life and his activities at school, once we discovered that he had so much inside of him and that he was incredibly smart, which we knew, but he was demonstrating in different ways. We tried to work with our school district, ended up fighting them because they would not accommodate Stone, the use of letterboards in his classroom. So he is now in a private school that offers one-on-one support. I'm there as his communication partner because, as you see, he uses a communication partner. At this point, he went from using a letterboard, which is how things began with spelling, to communicate. You actually start by poking at a stencil. It moves up to a laminated board. And now he's actually typing on a keyboard, and he's actually working on typing independently. So he's taken 3 classes, high school level classes. This is all without having the benefit of having a real education in public school. He was self-taught. He taught himself how to read, how to do math. He's now taking geometry. He's taking high school English. He's also taking environmental science. As you heard, he's writing stories. You're going to hear a little bit song that he's written, all kinds of things.
I hope you're enjoying the lighter side of the spectrum. So far, we're commercial free, but if you're finding value here, one way to support the show is by considering me for a speaking engagement. I speak on unlocking potential, whether it's for individuals like my son or for entire organizations. I also offer fractional CMO services for businesses needing strategic marketing support without the full-time commitment, drawing on over 35 years of experience in marketing. My agency has helped companies and healthcare practices increase their value, grow, and even prepare for acquisition. To learn more about my speaking topics, visit davidkaufer.com. Or if you're interested in our marketing or fractional CMO services, check out kaufermarketing.com. If you're enjoying this episode, please leave a review. Your feedback means a lot, and it helps me make this podcast even more useful. Lastly, don't forget to share it with anyone who would appreciate the insights and stories we're sharing here. Thanks again for listening.
We want to use this opportunity now to have Stone answer a couple of questions in real time. So let me pull up my Google Doc. All right, so we're going to do this. So Stone, this is your opportunity. So we're going to start with the first question. A lot of people are wondering, why do you wear headphones?
David, do you want Stone's song playing at this point, or?
Yeah, why don't we go ahead and we can start that because we have a couple of questions for him.
Speech can suck it. Little Johnny at the age of 4 woke up one morning and couldn't speak no more. Everyone was in shock at this poor boy's fate, but he was there. Everything was great, but then his speech disappeared. The worst thing happened, exactly what he feared. These professionals and teachers too, they don't know you, they shut you down, they make things up. I'm here to say, fuck it, speech can suck it.
Great. Okay, so what would you say has changed since you've started spelling? Is there anything you want to talk about? What's still challenging or what brings you joy?
Professionals and teachers, they don't know you, they shut you down, they make things up. I'm here to say, fuck it, speech can suck it. Fuck it, speech can suck it. But if you value flapping lips over the wordless expressions I'm afraid you miss.
What brings you joy?
I say, ooh.
Even then, Johnny could tell this place wasn't good, it was actually hell. These professionals professionals and teachers too. They don't know you, they shut you down and make things up. I'm here to say, fuck it, speech can suck it. Little Johnny at the age of 4 woke up one morning and couldn't speak no more. Everyone was in shock at this poor boy's state, but he was there. Everything was great, but then his speech disappeared. The worst thing happened, exactly what he feared.
All right, so here you get to see, and again, his whole life has changed. And I asked, "What brings you joy?" He said, "Mostly learning brings me joy." So the next question I want to talk to again, because people ask this, and then while he responds to this, that you can maybe again read the next story, which is about his first Stone completed writing about when I took him to his first Oregon Ducks football game. So Stone, while David plays that, why don't you tell us what are some of your interests and activities you're hoping to get into?
All right, here we go with
McKay.
All Hail the Ducks. Here is, in Stone's words, his first Ducks football game. My dad told me that he was going to take me to my first Ducks football game 3 years ago. My God, I was so excited. He had previously only taken Ty to games. I think Mom was worried how I would do at the games. Going into the game was something I always wanted to do. I always felt left out when they went together. Now I finally had my opportunity. My expectations were high heading to Eugene. We drove down on a Friday, and I stayed in a cheap motel. I mean, it was really cheap. We saw a guy with a pig in the hall. I couldn't believe it. Should I be scared? To be honest, I was slightly freaked out. My dad laughed about it, and we walked to a brew pub for dinner. The place was crazy busy with tons of fans and families. Probably most people you saw there showed great Ducks spirit. The wait wasn't too bad, and we grabbed a table. Believe it or not, we couldn't make it to midnight that night. The next morning was a blur for many reasons. Excitement over having the chance to be there in the first place. Eagerness to see a sport at such a level live in front of me. And major fear wondering how my body would respond to all the stimulation. Finding parking was the part I was dreading, but most of it wasn't terrible. I thought so at least, but I wasn't driving. The lines to get in were filled with a mixture of proud and tipsy excitement. The smell of stale beer had never been so thrilling as it had been that day. We navigated the lines with relative ease, and the seats were impressive. I couldn't tell you much about the others around me, except they were all very kind and open-minded. The green field, immaculate in its stadium lights, was fresh and untouched, and I wondered if the players' cleats were going to leave it looking like a chopped-up cake. The waiting wasn't nearly as unfathomable as I'd imagined, and I was quite enjoying people watching. By the time the actual game had started, I felt like I could get used to this. The players were lightning fast, and I almost couldn't keep up with them. I quickly got the hang of it, though. Then the shouting became less frightening and more exciting. Yes, the Ducks jumped out to an early lead. Pretty much everyone was losing their minds. Loud cheering poured out of fans throughout the stadium. My mind was mostly happy pretty much the whole game. However, I mostly thought you might lose your voice yelling so much for so long. Put simply, it definitely met and exceeded my expectations. I couldn't wait to go to my next game.
Go Ducks.
Go Duck.
Go Ducks!
Yeah, that was great. Thanks, Yaz. I mean, it was really, so again, and we'll be able to put the lyrics and these stories in the show notes, right? So that.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, if you're watching on video, we'll get those in caption form, but we'll put all the lyrics in the show notes of this episode.
Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun for everyone to see. So, this was especially special for me on a lot of different levels. Oh, this is great. So Stone can I share this? He just pulled up on his iPad the video from when we went to the Ducks game.
Fantastic.
I don't know if you can see it. Yeah,
Yep.
This is like the pre-game party we're at. um, as he said, he always wanted to go. Of course, we never knew
Mm.
that he necessarily wanted to go. Kind of assumed it because it's a lot of fun. But as with a lot of kids on the spectrum, when he was younger, he had a lot of sensory issues, and so we were kind of concerned about crowd noise and all that. But whatever it was 3 years ago, I said, screw it, I'm just going to do it. He's got to experience this. I had taken Ty, his twin brother Ty, to many games over the years. And I said, we'll just, and this is before he started spelling. So, and just see how it goes. And it was a blast. And like I said, I remember being in that cheap motel, which has now been demolished, by the way. It was
Oh,
cheap.
really?
And
Wow.
there was a pig. Yeah, like I remember just looking, oh, there's a pig. Yeah, I don't always, some of these road trips, I'm sure you can relate, right?
Sure. Oh, yeah. Yeah. The sights and sounds and college football especially is such a spectacle. So I can see why that both you and Stone were worried about the potential overstimulation. But it's a great lesson, I think, for parents with autism is you got to try. You got to try. Because even if it was a disaster and you had to turn around or something, well, you'll never know unless you try these things. And we've done, like, my son Adrian, he really liked karate. He definitely didn't like soccer. It's just he didn't get it. But the moments you get, even brief moments, are worth their weight in gold. And there are moments, David, where the special needs parent feels bad for the typical parent, because the typical parent will get all kinds of joy, but they'll never quite get a joy like that, and like Stone had watching the Ducks that day.
Absolutely. No, you're so right. And it's just like I said, it's so special. It was just such a fun day, and we obviously continued that, and we're going to be going to another game. We're going to be doing a road trip together in a few weeks here.
All right.
Or two, and and so again, like I said, one of the things I just I was able to learn is that he was like a huge sports fan. And how cool is that? So one of the things, Stone, kind of the next question for you is, I could talk all day about this. As far as what surprised me the most about the journey since you started spelling, but why don't you tell us kind of what surprised you, and you kind of talked about what you hope to do now you can communicate, but if you want to say anything more about that. And then maybe while he's typing, as you can read the poem that he wrote called Mirror, Mirror.
Here is Stone's poem. It's called Mirror, Mirror. Mirror, mirror on the wall. Who said that? Me, I said to me. How'd you get there, first of all? I've always been here. You just didn't see. Why can I see you now, then? I asked me. I looked me in the eye and said, you've forgotten who we are. You seem to have lost your way. We are the kings of quiet. Say, we seize the day. So the next time you see me, see yourself too, get on board, and see it all the way through. The end. That's a terrific poem, Stone.
It is. It's one of many poems he's written. He works with a spelling practitioner once a week, sometimes virtually, sometimes in person, and they do a lot of creative writing is something that he's chosen to do, and they've explored a lot of different ways, including poem writing. Okay, so Stone said, when I asked what has surprised you most about the journey since you started spelling, Stone said mostly what surprised me is how much hope I have. I can't imagine.
So sorry, David. Did you read all of Stone's replies on there?
So I'm just going to kind of go through them each then. As far as Stone, why do you wear headphones? I wear them to filter out noise. And how much has changed since you started spelling? And what brings you joy? My whole life has changed, and mostly learning brings me joy. What are your personal interests, and what activities are you hoping to get into? I love sports. I also love movies. I want to advocate for non-speakers. As you can see, there is a lot to cover here. The journey has been amazing, fantastic, unbelievable, choose your adjective. And what's really great is that we still feel like we're just at the tip of the iceberg in so many ways. We're going to be having Stone on many future podcasts. We're going to have guests. We're going to have guests with other spellers and non-speakers where we're going to have a chance to ask and answer questions across the board, talk to other parents. But really, this is the basis of it all. Like I said, this is the inspiration. Stone is just so strong and so brave in so many ways. And I just admire him so much for never giving up. And now that he has the opportunity, he is taking it and running. And I know both his mom and myself, the whole family can be more proud. So again, we hope you join us and enjoy the journey with us on the lighter side of the spectrum. Feel free to share this with others who may be interested, and drop us a note with any feedback, thoughts, or ideas you may have.
I hope you're enjoying the lighter side of the spectrum. So far, we're commercial free, but if you're finding value here, one way to support the show is by considering me for a speaking engagement. I speak on unlocking potential, whether it's for individuals like my son or for entire organizations. I also offer fractional CMO services for businesses needing strategic marketing support without the full-time commitment, drawing on over 35 years of experience in marketing. My agency has helped companies and healthcare practices increase their value, grow, and even prepare for acquisition. To learn more about my speaking topics, visit davidkaufer.com. Or if you're interested in our marketing or fractional CMO services, check out kaufermarketing.com. If you're enjoying this episode, please leave a review. Your feedback means a lot, and it helps me make this podcast even more useful. Lastly, don't forget to share it with anyone who would appreciate the insights and stories we're sharing here. Thanks again for listening.